Here, my name's Patrick Harris, and today we're just working with a couple of horses that we've brought in from out the back. So we're just going to let these guys go and separate them down to the ones that I want to actually demonstrate with. And as steady and as easy as we can do this, the better. And a couple of them a little bit keen to get moving. So the one we want to work with is the big bay horse there. So we'll just spread some of, just to keep him a little bit interested and not trying to get out the back so much, we'll open up some of these other yards and put one or two of them over here just to let him just go a bit steady with it. Walk up, walk up, walk up. Good girl, good girl. So it's a little mare that's by my old stallion Clancy, out of an Australian stud book pony, quite special. The main thing when working with horses, and particularly, walk on darling, walk on, walk on. The main thing with working with horses is to stay safe and to keep them safe as well. So hello and welcome, I'm Patrick Harris. This is Patrick Harris Horsemanship. The purpose of today's video is to demonstrate to you guys my style of, my method of training. As you can see, the horse in the background hasn't had a lot of handle. My knowledge of him is he's had his, he was cut and gelded. He hasn't had much else done, has he? He hasn't been cut. Right, so he's been cut and gelded and that was it. So we've left him out purely for this demonstration. Some of the other horses we've got here have been handled a little bit more, but this guy has been on purpose left him out. So some of the, just so you know, some of the things about me is that I demonstrated AgQuip, Australian National Field Days, Maxville. I've done schools in New South Wales, Queensland, and we run schools here on the property as well. So the little guy that we've got here, he's pretty special to me. So today's not about speed, it's just about timing and working with him. So as far as I know, I'm one of the only trainers in Australia, and from what I've been told, possibly the world, training and starting horses with NLP. So neuro-linguistic programming, meaning their nervous system, language patterns and programming. Now I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, yeah, but everyone does that. Okay, I agree totally. Have a watch and see what you think. So this guy here, he's 6-year-old. As you can see, he's a little bit nervous. So one of the things to understand right at this point is he's just been separated from the mob, and I'm just about to start working with him. He's licking his lips, he's standing there. Right now, right here, we've got a certain amount of confidence. If I walk over here, that confidence changes totally, and we've got to get another understanding. So that's some of the principles that we work with. So there's a certain point where you move on to the next stage of horses. If you like what you're seeing, click the like button, hit the notifications and subscribe. Every little bit of help, every little bit of support helps. We're a family run business and we appreciate all your support, so let's get started. So we've just been talking about understanding and confidence. So he's got a certain amount of confidence there. So body language, and why I start my horses this way is that I want to see him start to build that understanding and confidence. And as I move around this yard, you can see where I'm positioned on his hip. He has a response to what I do. Now, I got told the other day by a lady that they didn't believe in turning away from horses when they face up to you. Well, as you can see, this guy's responding quite quickly to it. So we'll get him going back this way again. Now, right at the moment, I'm not trying to get him to do anything special. I'm just happy that he's following the outside line, that fence. So he's proven he can do it, so we'll go back this other way. He's cutting across the yard a little bit. And we just want to get him to settle down and just go gently. So I've tried most ways of breaking in and training that there is. So he is he's highly responsive. It's just up to me now to see how quickly I can go with him. So using body language, and why I use body language is body language makes up 58% of communication. And just on body language and body language alone, I just want him to progress around this yard. And all we want him to do is just to walk around like he's doing right now. I often get asked at demonstrations and that, how do I know when to move on to the next lesson? Well, when he's doing the last one properly, and at a certain point I teach my students to then move on. Funnily enough, the horses get used to it, and when they're working, and particularly with students, they're able to negotiate and communicate with who they're working with to be able to get really good results. So this guy's going beautifully around here at the moment. And as you can see how he keeps cutting in on me? He's coming closer and closer. There's a few reasons why that's happening. I'd like to say it's just my training ability, but we've also got his mob out here, which is going to work brilliantly for what we're doing. So right for now, we're just moving around the yard with him. And we'll turn him around here. And so we'll just ask him to go a little bit quicker now into the trot. Now, body language is a massive part of my trainings. It's not only, as you can see right now, I've kind of got command of what's going on. But this is not a dictatorship. At the end of the day, I want to work with him. And to truly have a mate, I've got to start to recognise when he's giving me signs and signals that he wants to actually work with me. And again, it's all a process of negotiating which way we're going to go with it. Like, he's getting quiet very quickly right now. So one of the things that with my style of training, if a horse does something a number of times, we then move on to we change it up. We don't let them get stagnant, and we don't let that negative patterns start to happen. I teach my students exactly when that point is and when to move on and when to get ready for the next one. So he's kind of going around quite nicely now. And it's nice to see how engaged he is with me. So his confidence right now is a lot more than when I first walked into the yard. To be able to walk over to here and come back to him. Good boy. I think he's going to break in really, really nice. He's going to be a real good mate. So we'll go back to our body language. Now we've done body language, so what comes after body language? Well, horses have got to start to learn voice commands. So we'll just say walk on, walk on, walk on. There's a sequence and order that things get done, and this little guy's responding quite well to it now. Walk on, walk, walk on. Walk. Now when our rider goes on, it's very important that this horse and I can communicate quite well together. The rider's job when he gets up there is to help the horse understand what's happening and to be able to communicate the horse whilst under saddle to start giving cues and to be able to progress forward in his training. Walk on, walk on. So happy enough with that. Walk on, walk. Now that was absolutely beautiful, no trotting, just straight into that walk, and that's what we want. His head's lowering, and I'd say his confidence is gradually increasing. So what we're after, like and through all my schools, we work through nutrition, understanding, assessment of the horse, So when assessing a horse to see whether they're right to participate in a training session, we're looking for any lumps, cuts, abrasions, any lameness, unevenness, anything at all that walk on, that would stop him from working with us. And then we start to assess the horse mentally to see what values level to work with him with. So values 1 is obviously working with a horse in an instinctual pattern. Values 2, we're starting to look at other language patterns that horses work within. Values 3, 4 and 5 is typically what we work with and we progress with at the schools. So trot on, trot on. Now, that kind of language pattern, what you'll see in the wild, or what I've noticed and what I was taught from my family, and my family grew up with brumbies in the Pilliga scrub. So what I was taught was that the old mare would lead them into water, trot on, trot on. The old mare would lead them into water and lead them back out while the stallion stood guard. I guess my 3 favourite lots of horses is obviously the stock horse, the race horse and the brumbie. My family imported a stallion called Letterbox years ago, and you can see this little guy here is really responsive. Walk, walk, walk on. Walk, walk on. So if I was to turn and walk around to him, which I've had some people tell me to do, it's pretty much, that's a dictatorship. What I want is a horse that I can work with and actually get him to start to follow me. Good boy, whoa, and stand. So the idea is that every time that we're working with our horses is that we're starting to go in on a deeper and deeper level with each step, with each engagement. And as you can see, this little guy with his ear movement, with how his feet are pointed, his eyes, he's totally engaged with me, really listening, and very, very proud of him. To be a 6-year-old gelding and working so closely with me. Walk, good boy, walk on, walk. Now, the reason I like my style of training, as I said before, I've done most other styles, but this style absolutely makes sure that the rider's safe. Those first couple of rides that take place is really, really important. You could learn a lot through this video, but obviously a lot more through the schools. The schools are done. The youngest we've had in the school is 9. The oldest is 73. We had a 67-year-old lady come to one and said, asked me if she had to actually get on. And I said, no, we've got people that can take care of that. So we've got riders like Kaiser here today that actually come along and make sure that those people are kept safe. So when she asked me if she had to ride, I said, no, don't worry about it. We've got somebody that can do it. And she walked into the yard and I saw her mount up. And as she was mounting up, she was an Australian stockwoman. And when she was mounting up, I noticed she had holes in her boots. And it's just a sign of the times within Australia with droughts and everything else that's happening, what's going on. Droughts, fires, COVID-19. It doesn't change the fact our horses have still got to get worked. One of the reasons why we didn't keep working horses in the drought that we've just had is that it was really starting to become a problem. If they break down, then there was no nutrition for them to heal and recover. So we'll get him to go off again. So we're just going to let him stand there for a moment. And we'll just ask you to walk on, mate. Walk, walk. walk on, walk, walk, walk on, walk, walk on, good boy. Walk on, good boy. So for anyone that loves to dance, this method of training, you'd absolutely love it. It becomes a real game between the horse and person to see actually who's leading. Like right now, I'm going to give him the opportunity to lead, slow it down, and then let him lead again. As I said before, we don't want a dictatorship. We want a partner that we can work with. Australia's a big country, and our horses have got to cover a lot of country. When we're droving, typically, a lot of our horses get quite close to us, and it's really important that we keep them so that they are friends, so that we do and are able to have that communication and friendship with them. Now he just followed me then for the first time. He took 2 steps out, so that's really good. So I'm going to ask him to walk on again, and we'll just get him to go through, flow through a pattern for me. So as you can see, and I don't know whether you can pick it up or not on the camera, but each time we're doing something, we're going deeper and deeper and working with him on a cellular level. So as you can see, he's done 1 lap, and he's doing that quite easy. So we'll get him to do another lap, and we'll change directions with him. So again, this is just body language. It's not working with voice commands or anything else. Now he stood that way and he looked back towards his friend, so we'll just walk him off and go back that other way. Now, if you can see the difference between when we first started this and what he's actually doing now, the difference is he's much more engaged and he's happy just to walk around this yard. Now I stopped and he kept walking. The reason for that is he's being programmed to keep walking. So when I started training with young horses, the guy that taught me, there was a must that they should stop and stand and just have that time, just to have that breath. And if you can see what he's doing now, he's licking his lips, he's standing still, he's been really responsive to what I've asked him. Now we'll get him to go back this other way. And again, that's just body language, nothing else with it. And we'll change directions. So it's really important that our horses get used to having things that they see or obstacles that they learn to work through it. Otherwise they just become horses that they're going to take off and do what they want. They've really got to work with us and take on life as it comes. So what we'll do now is we'll see if we can get any closer to him. Trot on. Sorry, walk on. Walk. Walk. Walk on. Walk. So we've gone back to voice commands. Walk. Good boy. Walk on. Good boy. Walk. Walk on. Walk. Walk on. So we'll change direction. Now again, when I've come out here, he's followed me out. So we'll just get him to go out again. A lot of this is building understanding and confidence. So what we want is compliance and consistency, which basically means is that every time I ask him to do something, he's able to be compliant and consistent with it. The reverse side of that is if we're not compliant and consistent with what we're doing, we're going to muck him up. Walk on, mate. Walk on. A lot of trainers say that they're looking for respect and you've got to work with a horse. Well, what we're actually doing now is really working with him. Trot on. So we're starting to go a little bit quick, so we'll just slow that down. The speed, I only want him to go around steady, which is about where he's at right now. Change directions. Trot on. Trot on. Good boy. So, if you can see where he's at now, he's taken 3 or 4 steps off the yard, and we'll just see if we can go back over to him. Nope, that's fine. So as I've said before in other videos I've done, I'm not an American, I'm an Australian. I'm not real handy with a rope, but if I have to, I'll use it. So, and it's a bit of fun. Good boy. Walk, walk. Good boy. Steady. Okay, so when the rope goes on, and again, my style of training is not about taking control or being a dictatorship, but if you can see the slightest pressure that I've got on that now, that's a horse that hasn't had much pressure on him ever in his life. And this is where we just want to start getting him to realise we're going to work with him. Not here to hurt him, just here to teach him. Walk on, mate. So if we were to take a kid to kindergarten, you wouldn't expect them to have everything done in one day. And you certainly wouldn't be trying to hurt them. And it's the same with this little guy. That's his first time with a rope on. And the first couple of laps around, we just want him to go around, and he doesn't need to feel too much pressure, just to go around. And he can already feel it. You can see the way he's responding. But he just needs to get used to just walking around and starting to become compliant with what we're doing. So, what I want to start doing is manoeuvring the rope. And what we want to start doing is getting him to start giving us a little bit of feeling when he's doing something. So there we go there. Walk on. Walk. Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. So what we're looking for now is we want that head, the neck, to start turning in towards us. And the reason for that is, and why that is, the philosophy behind it is, if the head's towards us, the hips are pointing the other way, generally. So if we can get him to start doing that, which means that our students, when they go on, walk on, mate, is that when our students go on, or come into the yard, our horses, if you can see how he's responding to this rope right now, they're very responsive to it. And there's less chance of them actually getting kicked or something going wrong. So one of the main things with my courses are, it's not about how good I am, it's how good you can be within 6 days of doing a course with us. Walk on, walk on. Good boy. So now what we're going to do is we've got him good boy. Whoa. So we've got him starting to, let me get a little bit closer now. So with this rope, the idea is, what we're looking for is a consistent pattern, which he's given us. So we've tried that a number of times, so we'll go on to something different, just to break that pattern of him doing the same thing over and over and over. It's not ideal. So if we want to instill patterns and sequences and strategies that's going to stay with him for life, that we're going to be happy with, or future owners are going to be happy with, we've got to get it right from here. Otherwise, things that we do can actually create problems, and he's got to live with them. And if humans as trainers aren't able to pull our horses up from that, easy mate, good boy, easy. If humans as trainers aren't able to help our horses get through this, it makes their lives a lot harder. Good boy, steady, 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 good boy. So as you can see, this is something different. We're actually pushing his boundaries right now. And the idea is, again, when it's not a dictatorship, we just want to work with him and let him build that confidence and understanding and respect and trust within. So as we're getting closer and closer to him, it's just about a little bit of give and take. It's the same as that toddler. Although this guy's a 6-year-old horse, he's not a toddler, but with a toddler, we're not trying to change him all in one day. We just want to work with him. So you can see how he's pulling on the rope there. We don't need to fight that. Steady mate, whoa, stand, stand. So we've got our stick, we've got our rope. We'll ask him to walk off, walk, walk on. Good boy. And so I've come over this side of the yard, he's over his. You can see he's starting to drop his head. Don't know if you can see what I'm doing or not. Yep. If you can see, my head's also dropping. And that dropping off the head would suggest that anxiety and any kind of pressure or adrenaline's leaving his body, and he's starting to relax a little bit. So his confidence at that distance and that side of the yard, it's coming quite good. So what we want to do now is gradually, bit by bit, just get a little bit closer. So this is going to go on YouTube. We don't have a name for this horse. Name and competition. If somebody would like to come up with a name, be very much appreciated. Starting with the name Birundai, of course, which is the prefix. Easy mate. He's a good boy, this horse. He's a good horse, this horse, yeah. So we don't want to pull on that rope with him. The rope's basically just to help work through his boundaries that he's got. We're not trying to, again, we're not trying to say this is how it's going to be done and it's my way or the highway. That's not going to work. I've done a heap of that and it always ended up hard. Okay, first time we've got a touch, well done. So we'll get him to walk off from there. Walk on, walk on. Change direction. Come up again. And it's important to keep things changing for them. There's no point establishing sequences and behaviours that you can't repeat elsewhere or do elsewhere. In the schools, we actually teach our students when it's time to move on to the next session, so they learn how to work with the horse faster, with more agility and more speed and more results. I guess through my lifetime, I've learnt through my family and people that I've studied with or been with that have been kind enough to teach me. It's been our privilege to teach those people now. Good boy, steady, steady, good boy, good boy. So some people have asked me why I tend to use the rag on a stick. Well, it's a safety thing, and it enables a handler to be able to move so much quicker and faster with their horse. Good boy, steady. Walk on. Walk. Now he's just taking a few steps trotting when I've asked him to walk. Walk. Whoa, whoa. Good boy, stand. You can see the Pride's easy feed in the background. They were really, really supportive in the drought. So a lot of farmers or people that were struggling were able to get Pride's produce a lot cheaper by buying in bulk. And the guys at Pride, Mitch and Matt, were absolutely fantastic with it. So that's why we support Pride's. They're actually trying to help everyday Australians get through. Good boy. So he's starting to get a little bit of agitation with that now. So we could stay there and create a fight, or we can move on from it. So we'll get him to walk on. So he was in a trot, and then when we asked him to walk, he went back to the walk. We're just using the rope in sequence with his legs. Walk. Walk. Good boy. Walk on. Walk on. Change directions. So now we've got a situation where he's decided to go in the opposite direction, and that's fine. And those things are going to happen in life, that when that kind of stuff happens, he's got to be able to get used to it. And when these things do happen, it's really important for me that my horses, or the horses that I break in, are able to handle it. As you can see, there's no pressure put on there, but in saying that, it'd be quite nasty for a little kid to be underneath there, or a dog or something, and get kicked. He's an older horse and he's got a fair bit of power about him. So we'll ask him to go back this other way. Good boy. Whoop, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. So when things happen, it's important just to realise that things do happen. And right now this rope's touching this guy everywhere where possibly he hasn't ever been touched in his life, or he hasn't been touched. Yeah, I know. So it's doing a lot of good in the sense that he's not hurting anyone, but he's having something touch him in different places. So yeah, as you can see, the rope's right around his leg now, around both front legs. That's not too much of a problem right there. Walk on. Yeah, you're right. Good boy. Now, with the rope where it is, it's ideal that we can use it to our advantage. And the idea is just to get a little bit closer all the time and just keep creating that atmosphere of trust and respect, and getting our horse to understand that we're not going to hurt him. He is an older horse. He's turning 6 or 7 this year, and he's starting to get a bit of age on him. So for him to be at this part right now, I think we've been going for about around 30 minutes. He's doing really quite well. So, and just using that rope and realising how sensitive he is, this is not a time where we need to rush anything, and I probably need just to give him a bit of space. And as you can see, when I walked away, he was quite happy with that. So we'll just get in a little bit closer now. We're on his offside, which is fantastic. We don't need to be always on the near side working with horses. The reason most horses got used to working on the near side is basically because people spent too much time over there instead of working on the offside. The reason people started using the offside was because when in the cavalry, the sword would get in the way if it was used any other way. Easy, mate. So you can see here where a little thing like a rope going around a leg seamlessly looks like an accident, but it's made all the difference. Like I'm within not too far away right now from him, and it's just polite and gentle, not trying to upset him or do anything that's going to hurt him, but again creating that spot where his confidence is continuously growing. So to run through it again, I look for understanding, confidence, communication, body language, voice commands, kinesthetic, and then we go on to compliance and consistency. A lot of trainers say that the first thing they're looking for is respect or trust or something that comes way down the line. Well, it does with my style of training anyway. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. So we've got that right around his leg again. And we'll get him to step back over this way. Now the idea this time, now I don't know if you couldn't see that because it would have been out of the way of the camera, but he just put himself and he stood on the rope and he stopped. He's going to be highly responsive, and I think it's absolutely beautiful how he's going. Now we've got that rope back again. Oh no, where'd that come from? Now where the rope is around his neck, I don't want to put too much pressure on it, but I just want to let him know that walk on, walk on, walk on, walk on, walk on, walk on, walk on. Good boy. With that rope, I just want to let him know that it's all right. I'd prefer it if he wasn't kicking, but in saying that, we're not here to, we're just here to work with him. We're not here to say that we're going to be on him in half an hour or any kind of crazy stuff like that. He might not be ready for that. But what we are here to say is that we will work with him until we get the result that we want. And also that he wants to. I don't think he wants to go on a dog truck or be sold or end up at some meatworks somewhere. Walk on. Walk on. Good boy. So again, that's starting to get a lot better now. We'll get him to turn around. Good boy. Walk. Walk on. So we've achieved so much so far with how he's going. So what I want to do now is bring back and reintroduce the stick. Every time you do something, horses learn through repetition. So the unconscious mind learns through signs and symbols and signs, and horses aren't any different. They learn through repetition, and obviously the more you do something, the better they're going to get at it. So last time it took us from recollection, about 5 attempts to get him to be able to touch this. So this time, let's see how we go. Good boy, steady. Good boy. Good boy. So we're just running this up the rope to him. There we go. I think he just touched it then. And we'll give him another chance here. Whoa. Whoa. So we've got his friend that's coming over. Normally horses don't get so worked up, but having a bit of age on him and being a warm day and just being run in, it's a little bit exciting for him. Good boy. Steady, mate. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. So easy, mate. So we've been going on just on 45 minutes, or around about that time. So what I'm going to do now is pull up and give him a breather for a while. So as you can see, he's sweating on his neck, down his barrel and onto his rump. Normally I pull them up around when they're starting to sweat on their neck. So we're going to give him 5-10 minute breather and we'll come back to you. Talk to you then.